Welcome back to BAMA Network. I'm Katelyn Heffler, and this is my co-anchor, Jayde Saylor. And today we will be discussing the Southern Miss game. And so we're going to start with some stats of Alabama, and then also talk about, later on, our predictions for the rest of the season, the Ole Miss game. So quarterback, Matt Corral, threw 844 yards, 4 touchdowns, an interception on 59.6% passing. Running back Scotty Phillips leads the Rebels with 362 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. Tua has thrown 1,300 yards and 17 touchdowns on 77.7% passing. And Najee Harris leads Alabama with 30 catches for 404 yards and 6 touchdowns. And our Henry Ruggs has 350 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. Devontae Smith has 20 grabs for 263 yards. Defensively, Xavier McKinney has 28 total tackles, including 16 solo tackles. Anthony Jennings has 3 sacks this season.
I would like to add that quarterback Matt Corral for Ole Miss is possibly not going to be playing in this game this week, or maybe not playing the whole game. Matt Luke said in an interview that he hopes that both quarterbacks will be ready so that Alabama has 2 people to prepare for, but he is out with an injury of bruised ribs, so it just kind of depends if he'll be able to throw the ball with that kind of pain.
Well, and of course, as a team, Bama is averaging 550 yards and 50 points per game, while allowing 287.8 yards of total defense and 10.8 points per game against all teams this season. Alabama has outscored opponents 153-20 at this home season.
And Alabama hasn't lost a home game since 2015 against Ole Miss, who we're going up against this weekend.
I think the Gamecocks team was definitely better than this year's Ole Miss team, so I think that we'll pull out the win this week.
Definitely.
I'm hoping.
Saban in his interview seems to be very confident in this Ole Miss team, says they're the best opponent we've played all season. I haven't seen anything too impressive from Ole Miss, and with this whole quarterback situation, I'm not exactly too worried. So, in the game last week, we both went. We stood in the student section all 4 quarters. We stayed till the end, and the app actually did work this time for the Tide loyalty points, where everyone is complaining that Alabama is tracking their students. I don't think it's really that big of a deal.
I think it's a good idea, actually.
Definitely.
I think it really keeps us responsible for...
Yeah, and I heard several people around say, I'm leaving as soon as I get my points. And when you don't get them until halfway through the 4th quarter, it keeps the stands a lot more full. I was really impressed with the amount of people and students that stayed until the 4th quarter.
Improvement.
Definitely. It was better than New Mexico State. The whole atmosphere around was just a lot more exciting. I guess it's going to be even more exciting this weekend against Ole Miss. Yeah. But the app, you could hear one person say, I got my points, and then a bunch of other people would be like, oh, I still haven't got mine, and then a couple minutes would go by and another person would get there. So I guess they're still working through some technical difficulties, because it was about halfway through the 4th quarter before everyone got their points on the app.
I mean, it might be a good thing, so we don't all get at the same time, and then everyone leaves at the same time. So it's probably a good thing that we all get notifications at different times.
Also, since it was an 11 a.m. kickoff, it was a little bit more cloudy. I think it was 88 degrees instead of 98 degrees. That could have been a reason why a lot more people stayed, and it was not as hot. It didn't run out of water this time.
Apparently there's misters.
There are, yeah. I think we're going to have mists inside the stadium, but no girls are going to want to go out there and get wet. So I don't know, maybe it's good for the boys, but
well, kickoff this weekend, tomorrow. It's supposed to be 98 degrees
and no clouds.
So good. It's gonna be another hot one, but it's okay.
Also, in the Southern Miss game, our wide receivers Jerry Jeudy and Devontae Smith were caught on camera playing rock paper scissors in the end zone. And when Henry Ruggs was interviewed about it later, he let everyone know, and apparently Saban also, who didn't know, that the wide receivers tend to play rock paper scissors when they're about to run a touchdown route to see who gets the ball, because he says they can all play whatever position, they all know the plays. And I think that's just a subtle flex on all of college football, that our wide receivers are literally playing rock paper scissors to see who runs the touchdown in.
And our good friend Jamie Stein, shout out to you, tweeted, statistically in rock paper scissors the best move is paper. Rock is most common play and scissors is least, therefore paper is the best play. So someone get this critical info to Judy. We need to get him the ball as much as possible. I agree. Thank you for that, Jimmy.
So now, like we always do, we're going to talk a little bit about some other games that happened last Saturday that can possibly affect like the turnout of the postseason and Bama's college football playoff chances. The Auburn and A&M game, I went straight somewhere to watch it right after our game, and I was really excited for it, and right off the bat, I was no longer excited for it because it's very clear that A&M has been overrated. Seems like this happens every year, and Auburn has possibly been underrated. Gus Malzahn is calling plays again. Alabama fans are already dreading going to Jordan-Hare in November. UCF finally lost a football game to Pittsburgh, 35-34, so I guess they won't be claiming any national championships this year. And also, Wisconsin beat Michigan 35-14. Jim Harbaugh is one of the most, if not the most, overrated coaches in college football. Can we all agree?
Yes, completely.
Something I think all Alabama fans have been aggravated with this weekend is the fact that Notre Dame and Georgia took the primetime slot for CBS, which means Alabama and LSU don't get it.
Oh, good.
We love that. But it did turn out to be a better game than most people thought it was going to be. I think we all thought it was going to be Georgia blowing Notre Dame out. It was scoreless in the first quarter. Notre Dame was up 10-7 in the second quarter. I was actually taking a nap during the beginning of this game, and I woke up to my ESPN app, like, updating me, and I was like, what am I missing? Like, what happened? Who's hurt? Like, why is this I don't know. I was just very confused, but it ended up being a good game, but Georgia did end up pulling away with a win, 23-17. So now we talked a little bit about some games and some players that can affect Bama's postseason. We got a comment from someone saying, will it be Clemson versus Bama final again? Thoughts? And we actually answered this in the first episode, our predictions for the season, preseason. And now that we're a few games through, I think it'd be nice for us to just give our opinion on that now.
Well, as for Clemson, they play absolutely no one with competition, so they are definitely a shoo-in. So I think that we will be meeting up with them in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they play literally no more ranked teams for the rest of the season, so they're definitely going undefeated, and they're probably going to be number one again. Bama, on the other hand, we have more challenges. We still have to play LSU, we still have to play Auburn. So like Katelyn said, in the first episode, we both predicted that Bama and Clemson are going to meet again in the championship. I do have faith that Alabama can beat LSU and Auburn this season. I think we're going up against a very different LSU offense than we're used to. And then the next question I have is, can Georgia and Alabama both get in the playoffs again this year? And then outside of SEC play, we still have Oklahoma, and we have Ohio State, who now has starting quarterback Justin Fields from Georgia, who went for 6 touchdowns in 1 quarter last weekend. What kind of stat is that? I don't know. It was like a record for Ohio State. It has to be a record, like, for a lot of schools, because that's pretty crazy. He was going off. I think it's very clear that he should have probably been the starter at Georgia over Jake Fromm.
So overall, I think that we can agree that we think that Alabama and Clemson will meet in the playoffs, but I think that we definitely have a harder schedule, and we will definitely have some competition, while Clemson is definitely have an easier time
more than
getting
we
us there.
faced last year. You know, I feel like we didn't see very much competition until the championship game against Georgia in Atlanta.
I think it'll be good for us, though. I think that it's important to play hard teams so that you get ready for that competition.
Yeah, and it helps with our ego, because I think that was a big problem last year.
Yes, for sure. And moving on to our other Alabama sports, we wanted to mention that the Alabama women's volleyball team is 8-4, and they will be playing this Sunday in the Foster Auditorium, and they will be playing Arkansas. Our Alabama women's soccer team, who is 5-4-1, and they will be playing this weekend in Tennessee, along with our women and men's basketball teams, who just had their first practices this week.
And speaking of men's basketball, we have a 5-star recruit, Namari Burnett, which would be a huge land for Alabama basketball, coming to visit this weekend. He's going to be going to the game, so if you see him out, be sure to give him a warm welcome and let him know we really want him here.
And now on to our golf teams. The women's golf team will be having a match in the Schooner Fall Classic, which is this weekend starting today, and men's golf, Ponder shoots a 66 to lead Alabama in the final round of the OFCC Invitational this past Sunday. Also, along with our tennis teams, women's tennis is having a match which starts today, and it is the Rice Invitational in Houston, Texas. And the men's tennis team is also going to the Southern Miss Invitational. And then also to mention that the men's golf team, their match will be in Birmingham, October 7th and 8th. And along with that, swim and dive, they will be having their meet against UGA in Birmingham on October 4th. That's all for this episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we are also adding a backdrop and mics for next weekend. We love hearing from you guys and all of your comments, so please continue with that, and don't forget to like this and also subscribe. Follow us on our socials, and we are so excited to talk to you guys next week. I'm Katelyn Heffler.
And I'm Jayde Saylor.
Roll Tide.